Hello, my name is Donald Cavanaugh, and this video is meant to talk about drawing Lewis dot structures in 3 steps. We have 3 steps, and the first and the third step have red check marks because they are our verification. Like, we need to double check those. And we have a blue arrow for the looping because we're going to cycle through these 3 steps until both of these are checked off. The first step is we need the total electron count from the periodic table. The second step is we will make one bond between each atom, and recall that there are 2 electrons in each bond. And the third step is to check the octets of each atom. And every atom likes to have, in chemistry 151 and 130, every atom likes to have 8 electrons except for hydrogen and helium, which are just fine with dose. Okay. In our first step, we have our formula, ClNO. This is a covalent compound where all the electrons, where everything is a nonmetal, so drawing a Lewis dot structure. This is our count. Chlorine brings 7 valence electrons, nitrogen 5, and oxygen 6. And just like a refresher, here is a periodic table with those atoms circled, nitrogen, and starting from the left and counting over, in the valence shell, nitrogen brings 5 electrons, oxygen brings 6 electrons, and in this row down here, chlorine brings 7 electrons total. So that's how we get our counts of 5, 6, and 7. Because there is no overall charge on the molecule and it is neutral, we have to do nothing. If there was a charge on the molecule, if it was a cation or an anion, we'd have to subtract or add electrons accordingly. This is our total electron count, 18. So in our final structure, we are only allowed to have 18 dots or 18 electrons. So following along with our second step, we are going to make one bond. In the formula, ClNO, we're given a little hint that the atom in the middle, let's start with that as the middle of the formula here. So kind of like just like a compass rose, I have our central atom, and then I just filled in these atoms at the north and the east location. If there was a third atom, I'd put it on the south, and if there was a fourth, I'd put it on the west. This basic configuration of a compass rose is a lot of Lewis dot structures in Gen Chem, where there's one center and 1 to 4 things poking around on the outside. Step 2 is make one bond, and there are 2 electrons in each bond. 4 electrons, 1 bond apiece. Step 3 is to fill in the octets, and every atom wants to have 8 electrons surrounding it. So down here, I have filled in 8 electrons for each atom. This chlorine on the top has 8 electrons surrounding it. This oxygen has 8 electrons surrounding it, so it's happy. And the nitrogen in the center here has 8 electrons as well. So everybody here has their octet. When we cycle back up to step 1 and check our total electron count, we have 20 electrons in this picture. So that is no good. We are only allowed to have 18. So to be clear, this picture is at best half credit. It is good that everybody has an octet, step 3, but it is bad in that it has 2 TWO many electrons. So let's address that problem by cycling through the steps 2 and going back to 3. Now just to be clear, this is the exact same structure I had at the previous page. There are 20 electrons drawn in this picture right here. Okay. Now in step 2 it says make one bond. And this is very counterintuitive to students because many students see, like, look, I already have TWO many electrons, and you're asking me to draw 2 more. I understand that, but I want you to remember that we're going to erase things, so we can erase stuff as easily as we draw stuff. Okay. Now, we're going to make one bond. Now, we can make one bond here or one bond here. These are the places we have to make one bond. We can do this intelligently by looking at patterns in the periodic table. Based on their electronic structure, atoms have a preferential number of covalent bonds that we often find them in. Chlorine prefers 1 bond, oxygen 2, nitrogen 3. When we look at our Lewis dot structure, chlorine's already bonded once, so it would be foolish to put another bond here. Nitrogen is bonded twice, so it does want another bond. And oxygen is bonded once, so it wants another bond. It stands to reason that this would be the place to put our 1 bond. So down here at the bottom, let's do that. We have drawn our 1 extra bond in. Okay? Now, we just drew 1 extra bond. We want 2 more electrons. Okay? Now, there are 24 electrons now in this structure. It seems like we are worst off. We are going to go to step 3 and check our octets and use our eraser. This chlorine is happy. It has 8. This nitrogen has 10. So let's erase 2 of those right there. This oxygen has 10. So let's erase 2 of those electrons right there. Now we have verified step 3. Check. Everybody's got an octet. Let's cycle back up to step 1 and make sure we're only allowed to have 18 electrons. 18 electrons we have in our picture. Check. Everybody has an octet. Check. These are the first 2 layers of verification that we have a good Lewis dot structure. Hope this helps. Thank you.